All right, let's do a confidence interval for the population proportion. So population proportion pi. We did this question in the lecture notes, so I think we can go ahead and do it now in Excel. So is Starbucks coffee overpriced? So recall that a newspaper surveyed 1,000 people, 730 said that they think Starbucks is overpriced. Find a 99% confidence interval for the population proportion of Americans that think Starbucks is overpriced. So recall this is our formula, so our standard error is a little different here, and our critical value or test statistic is always z for the proportion. All right, let's start with what we know. So the sample size was given to us as 1,000. The number of people who thought Starbucks is overpriced was 730, which means our proportion is going to be equals 730 divided by 1,000. And so our point estimate for the sample proportion is 0.73. Now the standard error, so that's going to be the square root of p times 1 minus p divided by n. So let's do equals SQRT. So let's do p times parenthesis 1 minus p close parenthesis divide by n, sample size, close parenthesis, enter. Okay, and so we get our, oops, not what I wanted. And we have our point estimate and our standard error. Okay, so we've got this piece and we've got this piece. So now we need to work on our confidence level. So we are interested in a 99% confidence interval. So our confidence level is 0.99. We know alpha is 1 minus confidence, so this is that's going to be equals 1 minus 0.99. It's going to be 0.01. Okay, so now we need to use a slightly different function than we did in the prior example. Because this was a t-statistic, we use this t.inverse function. But we're going to do essentially the same thing, but we don't have to worry about degrees of freedom. So we're going to do 1 minus alpha over 2. So let's do equals. So now it's going to be called norm.s.inverse, open parenthesis. So we're going to do 1 minus alpha over 2. So that's 1 minus alpha divide by 2, close parenthesis, enter. So it's a little more straightforward because we don't have to worry about n minus 1 degrees of freedom. Okay, so now we have our critical value of z, we have our standard error. So now if we multiply them together, we'll get our margin of error. So let's do equals. So let's take our standard error, multiply it by our test statistic, so times critical value 2.58 equals 0.036. Now we can calculate our upper and lower bounds, so that's just going to be the proportion minus the margin of error, and then the proportion plus our margin of error. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be equals proportion minus margin of error, enter. And then this is going to be equals proportion plus margin of error, enter. And this is good. We got the same values as we did for whenever we did this by hand. So this means our 99% confidence interval is going to be between 0.694 and 0.766. So if we were to interpret this, we would say we are 99% confident that the population proportion of Americans that think Starbucks coffee is overpriced is between 0.694 and 0.766. Okay, and that's our confidence interval for the proportion. So it's very similar, and like I said, um, I think the best thing to do when doing the homework, just go ahead and copy paste this table, and just fill it out, as this will keep you organized so that you can go ahead and answer any homework questions.